I just remember spending a lot of time talking with Joe Camp about the folk school. I remember talking with Paul Shirky, and he has been here forever and he's done all these awesome things, and like listening to him and then looking at my experiences from folk schools and other things that I had done in my life, and like trying to come up with like, hey, how can we make these two things sort of meld? And he had just like so much energy. It was awesome.
Well, we started noodling around up here in the late 70s, doing the guide thing and cutting Christmas trees and collecting cans, whatever we could to make life work. We were caught right at the cusp when Ely started to get on a roll, and we've been rising with the town ever since with our interests in our business enterprises, including our involvement with the folk school. This lovely space was part of our wintergreen complex for a while, and then when the Ott family bought this, and Tanner and Sue, my wife, were talking about what they might do with the space. We were hugely appreciative of the North House Folk School and involved there with teaching and classes, both Sue and I. And we said, you know what, Ely needs a folk school. But other people here in town were thinking along the same lines. But kind of lit a spark with the Otts, I think, as well, that this would be a creative use of the space. That was summer of 2014, and then I think it was that October or November that we put the word out in the community that all those that were thinking along these lines, let's put our the heads together and see what comes of this. So we had a meeting next door here at what was then still Verteen's, as I recall.
I got involved in starting the folk school right after my wedding, actually. And I stopped in at Wintergreen because I was working for Sue Shirky, and she was talking about how she and Paul had an idea for this space of the folk school that the Otts had purchased, and they had this idea for a folk school, and I thought, ooh, that's perfect. My husband needs something to do this winter. I think we should volunteer to do that. And so we kind of organized together a community meeting, and that was in what is now Insula.
And a bunch of people showed up and were brainstorming of different ideas, and one of the ideas was a folk school.
I remember being surprised and encouraged by not only how many people showed up, but the variety of people who showed up, of all ages and kind of all political backgrounds in town. That spoke volumes to me about the interest in this community to get something going here.
We spent a lot of time thinking about what it should be called, and then we settled on the obvious choice of the Ely Folk School. We worked on the mission statement for a long time, and it's maybe long-ish, but it has important things in it.
So we spent a lot of time on the mission statement and trying to get it down to what we really wanted it to do, which I think came out really good. And pretty much it's exactly what it was when we started. So I feel like it held up really well.
I don't think it took long for people to hear about it and then get excited about it, and next thing I know, we're all standing out on the sidewalk getting our picture taken.
On the official opening and the ribbon cutting, there were just so many people that just had spewed into the streets. It felt like such a huge support for the whole community. It was just amazing. And to see this old fisherman headquarters building that I used to buy my little doodads that might make life a little easier on the trail, and come in to get a little tackle or some nice treat, packaged food or something here. And to now see it being utilized this way was just terrific.
We realized that obviously summer is the best time to get moving, and I also kind of think that if you marinate over things too long, you can get stuck in indecision. And so I was in favor of moving fast and just getting something out on the books.
In June, which was only like 6 months, seven months after we had that first meeting, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, everything moved very fast because we needed to form an organization legally. We needed to find a location. We needed to find people to teach. We needed to tell the greater community who we were. And
through that winter of 2014-15, we cobbled together a board of directors and nonprofit status. Hit the ground running on June 6th of 2015. With our initial course load, thanks largely to Sarah Malik.
I just remember a lot of people who were like, Sarah Malik was working on finding instructors, and she just had this great group of people that she reached out to.
Hi, Sarah. Welcome. It's good to see you.
Hi, Lucy. I'm sitting here in Reina, Norway, and I'm really excited to talk to you, reminisce about the great times we had in the early days with the folk school. What the folk school became was a reflection in part of the people who, the personalities who formed it. And so I think that there were many really powerful personalities that respect others' opinions and diversity. And that was kind of the point of coming together, is to learn from each other.
People were very enthusiastic. We got a lot of support. We were very busy and active and had lots of energy to bring this to the community.
I remember Joe Camp and I would meet and talk, and then when this building became available, Joe would come over here with me, or Paul would meet us, and he was crazy, like incredible energy, because he was really excited about it. And I remember this because this floor looked pretty rough. And I remember Paul came in like over a weekend and was like, I'll take care of this. And he like waxed the whole thing. And all of a sudden we were like, wow, this is crazy.
I was enchanted with the Barnum Bailey Circus, which came to Minneapolis Auditorium when I was a kid. My parents always took me. We'd sit up way in the $5 nosebleed seats up at the top, but nonetheless, I was just absolutely mesmerized by the whole circus scene. And so my childhood dreams all kind of revolved around being part of a circus. So this was my circus. This was my circus because of the wide variety of people and activities that was going on here.
I think the energy of the first group was a little bit of like, oh man, this is a big job we have to do. How are we going to get it all done? What resources do we need to? So it was a lot of like brainstorming and really lots of work. It was a very strong working board. We did tons of work outside of the board meetings.
It is a lot of work, and we had our first program director was also just a volunteer. So we were doing a lot of the work as board members ourselves.
We were very hands-on. We did a lot to get it off the ground.
So we were trying to get everybody in the same page and moving the same direction, but there just was a lot to do. So those were the challenging things of, I think, just organic community building. It is hard and it takes a long time.
The time it took, the energy it took, trying to find the money.
Obviously, money is always a challenge, and we recognized early on, that there's a lot of people competing for the limited dollars that come up.
People were remarkably generous, and if we pulled out the stops and put together an attractive fundraising event and program, we were raising $5 to $20 grand a crack at the different events we held, which the folk school really relied on. We didn't have any big grants or anything.
So we didn't have any instructors when we started, and there was no list to go to. So it was just word of mouth, really, where somebody said, oh, I know this person that, does baskets down in Duluth. Maybe they'd be interested. And so then I would call them or send them an email. And then every single instructor I spoke to, I asked them, and who do you know that has something to offer? And it just really snowballed from that, where since we weren't so limited in like, we are only teaching fine arts, we are only doing this or that, everybody has something to give.
I was familiar with the concept, and I really believed in the concept. And I immediately saw myself as a potential teacher, because I am Slovene, born and raised here in Ely. And my mother was quite a baker, and I did, through the years, master the art of making walnut pizza and several other Slovenian delicacies. Anyway, I said, I am Slovene and I make walnut pizza and I'd love to get involved. Are you ever going to have a kitchen? And they said, well, we don't have a kitchen, but if you're interested. And so at that time, I was living in Durham, North Carolina, and spending summers up here in Ely at my cabin on White Iron Lake. So I decided to have these classes at my cabin and limit them to 5 students because I had 5 pizza baking pans, and so everyone could take one home.
As long as you can empower people to value what they have and know that they have something to offer, everybody can teach something.
I mean, I could have taught walnut pizza, especially in the summer, every week. It was sort of like no one argued that this wasn't a good direction to go, because at the time we were trying to build our curriculum, build and trying to find out what people really wanted, what the demand would have been. And especially in the summertime with the tourists coming in, you know, they really loved having like a little taste of what Ely heritage is.
I think what attracted me to folk school concept in general is the sense of community and preserving our heritage and culture in ways that in this electronic age feel like they could be in danger of disappearing.
Being a sewist is what they call them now, or call me now. I offered a lot of sewing classes for the first year. I offered pillowcases and skirts and quilts and a lot of different sewing classes. What is good about the folk school learning is that it's a non-competitive environment. It's comfortable for people to learn new things. It's very supportive. All the instructors and even people that are taking classes are very supportive. So I think it's a really warming, close, fun environment to learn something new.
I love that the Ely Folk School has its own feel. It has its own, identity, the logo, the type of classes we focus on. The local focus to me is stronger than I've seen at other folk schools.
You know, living here in Canoe country, the Canoe connection has always been near and dear to me. That was sort of an obvious feature from the get-go, although I have to credit Sue, because she had first mentioned that. I don't think we'd even gotten that far yet. And she said, oh, you should really identify with the Canoe. And she had first sketched out, I think with Susan Pileggi, the little hand on the Canoe logo thing.
Sue Shirky came in and said something. There was the handprint and everyone really liked that, but then I think it was Sue who came in and was like, it looked really cool on the front of a boat. And then Sean Chosa was the one who helped make the and he was willing to keep making stuff for us. And when I remember when I saw the design, I was like, yeah, that's awesome. Like, that feels right.
Johnny and I taught some classes early on. One was a canoeing class.
Yeah, on the very first day that there were classes here, Bert and I taught paddling 101, basically.
Down at Seymour's and just paddled around for a while. And then I think at one point, I'm not sure when, we branched out into how and what to pack for equipment and food and a little bit of navigation and how to portage and stuff like that.
It was super fun because I remember this one couple saying, I think you saved our marriage.
Then when we were able to tap Eric's talents with the Birch Bark Canoe program, that really put the polish on the Canoe connection in a big way. And it was for those summers when I think it was a Tuesday and Thursday afternoons when Eric would be out there with a crew of volunteers and drawing passersby to come see what was going on. And I said, what other town is doing this right now? Another only an Ely thing. There's so many only an Ely elements that go on up here, but that for me was really a hallmark one. The afternoons with the volunteers weaving watap in the canoe, or they're slathering on this bear grease charcoal seam sealer on the boats. And then of course bringing it full circle by paddling on the waters of Lac La Croix eventually, and then going on to the bigger canoe yet. But so I'm very proud that Canoe connection has held strong. And then also, it's always been a very strong personal interest of mine to build a bridge between the native and non-native communities up here.
Just wanting that native connection, I really thought it was important that we had Anishinaabe people and culture as part of this, because we're talking about community culture and heritage, and that's the very basis of this community.
I think just a lot of the skills or crafts that live here, you know, the wild ricing, just the wood skills, I think. I knew a lot of, they used to be old geezers, and now I'm an old geezer, but that spent a lot of time in the woods, and I knew they had things to teach me. I've been trying to get somebody to, you know, teach me different trapping things for years and years, and this just sort of felt like a natural opening of a way to learn about the stuff I was interested in around here. So I was pretty happy.
Joe Camp, who's no longer with us, this and the kitchen were two of his big dreams. And so that was really cool to see those come to fruition and to see them used.
We outfitted the kitchen by just running an ad in the Ely Shopper. Wanted kitchen, anything for the kitchen that you have extra in your house. And so we got a very interesting collection of things, but some very, very valuable. You know, we outfitted the kitchen in no time at all. It was like it solidified our role in teaching cooking lessons, because that opened the door not only to my, you know, various Slovene dishes, but it opened the door to like cheese making. And of course, then later on, the open house for Thanksgiving. The kitchen is just a natural place to have a potluck. I do think a kitchen signifies a real gathering, heartwarming place. And it makes a home, certainly.
And the potlucks, those were big right from the get-go. Tables groaning with food of all kinds. Obviously, potlucks are a big hit here.
I'd also love to see, I don't know, maybe just because I'm a dancer, but like more community dances.
My favorite moment from that first year was our first folk dance, because there were some folks that were skeptical about how folk dance was going to be received in the community, and it was so gratifying to have that first dance, and it was just like packed. We didn't envision, you know, this quiet space of concentration all the time on a single class. We envisioned a place that's full of life, and so that first folk dance was really fun.
Some of my favorite moments at the folk school have been the folk dancing. It's just, we had one evening here early on where we had a teacher from Minneapolis who was actually teaching Eastern European dances, and we had the doors open, and it was summer, and people just came in who were walking down the street and joined in, and it was so much fun.
It really, truly has become a center and a gathering place in Ely, and it is one of the things that, you know, motivates some people to move there because it is so special.
There's one man I'll never forget. He came with his wife and to our, at that time we had a kitchen. And so he learned how to make pizza. And before he left with his roll of pizza, he said to me, "I think my mother is smiling right now."
Food and gathering and storytelling, entertainment that's an interaction of people rather than sitting in front of the device and being entertained.
Because those classes are very social. You're not caught in a booth in some corporate cubicle punching in numbers. You're actually sitting around a table with a bunch of other folks doing cool stuff, and you're chatting away the whole time. And that's the bonding element of a folk school.
A group of people that don't know each other from anybody and just get together and share little stories and stuff. It's nice to be in a community like that just can be easy with each other.
I think it's important for people to perceive this as a happy place. And I truly know this is a happy, enjoyable, fun, inspiring community of people here.
You know, it was November. It was a very dark November. I remember it was like cold, and it just seemed dark and dreary at the time, and everything was kind of like, and then, you know, 10 years later, it's like, oh wow, look at this, look at all these things that that a community did. You know, all these people together created this pretty awesome space. But we thought, you know, this is a community that also deserves a space like that and deserves a chance to get people, you know, to express or teach or do whatever.
Really being able to dream and to see, and not just to stay where we were, but to really think that we could become more, that we could create a ceramic studio, that we could add more programming, that we could hire staff, which was really the most important part of making it grow, I think, is getting staff that was vibrant and vital and connected to the community and excited about moving on and bringing in these future generations.
We wanted to have a new kitchen, which we did, and I think somewhere I have drawings and sketches of what I had designed. It's pretty close to what's out there. We wanted to have a blacksmithing shop, which we have. We wanted to have a pottery studio in this very room where we're sitting, and it's now here, so that's awesome.
You know, the success of the Ely Folk School right downtown, you know, right on Sheraton, and being the physical heart of Ely as well as this emotional center and gathering place has shown that it is unique and it is relevant. We just got to see the best of a lot of people that really wanted to create something to give back.
This is what people love. This is real life and community, and people like to jump in and just paddle along with you as you're going down the river.
People began to realize that Ely is not dead and dying. I think there's something in the water up there that's popping this place back to life in a big way, and that's been happening all 10 years now.
Ely's a great place for the folk school back then because we had a lot of people who shared that vision and the passion and the inspiration for the folk school. And I think it's progressed into being awesome folk school now because we have so many more young people that are involved, so many more classes, so many more offerings and programs and events. It's just really, to me, grown to be just a brilliant place for this community and to bring people together. Way to go, people.